Okay, so today we're here with Lucy and we're just going to talk through the process there of how to complete a sales order form. This will be processing via Nexus. So Lucy, if you want to take it away there.
Okay, so today we're just going to be showing you how to process an order on Nexus. So you've got your interface here, and then you've got all of your options here on the left-hand side. So this is for a new customer. So I would simply go to customer, select the customer first, and then I would add the customer here. Okay, so as you can see, you need to add in the customer name, the short name, which could be used as a prefix for the process for the project, which could just be the first part of the customer's company name, and then followed by some numbers. Okay, so customer number. Okay, so I would usually use the customer number the same as the short name. I'm not too sure why we need to add that in. BDM. And then you would add in your email address as the account manager. Now you would assign a desk-based account user, which will be, in this instance, Lee Thompson, who I work with. And then once you've done that, you've got a little save button on the top right. You would simply press save, and then that would be your new customer saved into Nexus. The second option you would do is you would add sites. So if the customer has got multiple sites, you've got an option here to actually add them once you've actually saved the customer details. So once the customer is saved into the system, you would simply select new order to the left-hand side. Okay. So as you can see, the customer is saved there as zone contractors. So that's selecting the customer. Simply go to the next step by clicking next. And then you've got the option here to add vehicles, add multiple vehicles as a bulk import. For this exercise, I'm just going to add the vehicles individually. So as you can see, I've got a fleet list here. So this is a fleet list that was supplied from my customer with their registrations, fleet number if they have one, make, model, and the asset type there. Now for the Fuel Smart, I've already checked that all of the units are compatible. So for this particular order, we're good to go and get this processed. You would check that before you have any orders signed in the first instance. So at this stage, you would already know that all of your vehicles are compatible for the fuel solution that we have sold to this particular customer. Okay, I'm adding in the first vehicle there. So I'm adding in the registration without a space, the make, the model, and the year.
Now, see that? Sorry, Lucy, just the model LF. Where was that on the the spreadsheet? Oh, right. Okay. So you just okay.
Yeah. So this particular customer, he has put it in right, but in his depot, he's put Volvo. So he's put that twice. Usually, you'd put if you've got multiple sites, you'd either put the location or the depot in there. So I would always find out all this information before you're actually processing the order onto Nexus. So you're already knowing what the makes are, the models are. And if they have got multiple sites and you want to assign that vehicle to a site, you would then click there, and you can see that there's an option there for the Midlands office. And that's where we are going to be doing all of the installations and sending the equipment to.
Yeah. Do you know, Lucy, there, if say the LF model, you went on without filling that field, and does it allow you to go on without like putting certain fields in, or are they all sort of compulsory before you could even hit save?
No, you can add in whatever model you want. So all of these are ones that people have previously added in.
Okay.
However, if there is one that isn't there, it's a new model. You can just type that in there, and it will just save normally.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Okay, so that's my first vehicle added. I don't want to click too much, otherwise I'll add it twice. There we go. So you can see there, you will always get a little box there that says new, and you can see that a new vehicle has been added. You can see the registration there. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the second vehicle.
Just checking to see, would you have a sort of cutoff point? I know you sell quite big orders. Would there be a cutoff point where you do multiple uploads compared to adding one vehicle at a time, maybe 10 plus or something like that?
I have not personally used that add multiple vehicles. That's actually a new option that's been added recently. And on my desk based account manager, Lee, he actually adds all of these orders on for me now, which is great. Gives me more time to look for opportunities, sell more. So it's actually been a while since I've added an order to the system. So I will have a look at that in a minute though, because I would imagine, you know, if you've got a large order, you would add in multiple vehicles, but I don't know how you would do that if you're adding in the regs. So for this particular order, we're actually putting in the makes, models and all the regs. If we had an order, so say for instance, we've got TIP 180 basic trackers, we have not submitted that on the app to an actual reg, it's just to a stock number. So I think in that instance, you would be able to use the add multiple vehicles, but I'll take a little look at that in a moment.
All good.
Okay. So it can be a little bit of a task, especially if you've got a large order of 50 odd vehicles, 100 odd vehicles. This is quite time consuming.
Yeah. I think the more the order scales, the less chance you're going to fit one unit into one particular reg and guarantee that's going to be continuous throughout the whole process. So with the smaller ones, definitely the registrations help, you know.
Yeah, certainly do. And it's more from a tracking and fuel perspective, because you need to know all of the registers to check your compatibility and make sure that everything is compatible for the fuel. If it is just basic tracking, we already know that they're compatible, so we wouldn't have to particularly get all the regs in the first instance.
And if there is the need for maybe an additional data click or something, Lucy, would that ever be built into the GP sheet, or you obviously find that out before the install takes place?
So as you can see on this vehicle that I've just added, it needs a J1708 data click. So I've just added that there when I've checked my compatibility. I'm going to check when we go to the next step if there is an option for the data click, but I'm not sure that there is. So at that point, I would just write it into the notes when I submit the order. It's annoying when the customer doesn't puts the spaces there, because I know that everybody prefers it to come on the app without this.
Yeah, it might be worth mentioning, like I say, the spaces basically is something to do with a slightly different product bar Fuel Smart, and just allows data to flow through, and spaces are basically a no-no on how that data comes through. So we do prefer no spaces, whereas typically people enjoy or see spaces in the registration. They type it as they see it, you know?
They do, yes. And some customers will actually go in and try and change that. I thought that the reason that we don't put the spaces in was because of DDS. Is that?
Is indeed, yeah.
It is, okay. Okay, so we're nearly there. There isn't a model against that. It's just a road sweeper. So I would just leave that blank.
Okay.
I suppose any blank information, or if there is no maker model, it's up to the support as well. They'll do a double cross-reference on it just to make sure there's no extra equipment needed for it.
That is correct. And also what I usually do, which I just didn't do just then, sometimes I will just check on to Cartel or there you go. So it's a Euro cargo. So that's fine. I actually did already check that. Oh, let me get back onto my screen.
And that was called Cartel, that website you're on there?
Cartel, yeah. Or you can use Auto Trader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've lost my fleet list. Where are we? Okay. The rest of them are Volvo. Sometimes you do just have to wait with the app just to make sure that it is saved. Sometimes it takes a little minute.
Yeah. I just noticed in that one, Volvo, there was a misspelling. So can you go in and edit that, Lucy? Was there, or maybe I miss see the V or not?
Let me add them and then see if I can go in and edit. I know that we couldn't in the beginning when the app was first developed, but I'm sure that we can edit now. Okay.
If not now, I think there's a possibility when it gets to Chris, the operations manager, he can look through and make amendments on that side of things as well before the order's approved or then after as well.
So I think what I would do is I'd usually just go, I would usually just check them. And if it is wrong, I would just delete it off and add it back on. But if there is an edit, that would be a lot better. Just in case you do make a mistake as you know, you're adding them on because you're adding quite a lot on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're nearly there. That were the caps. Oh. 22.
Can I just ask while you're doing that, Lee's role then, is he like internal sales or is he, what would his?
So he's the desk based account manager. So so what he'll do is while I'm out on the road, he will help me process any orders, draw up any proposals, and just general help really, getting leases approved. And he would process any orders as well on the app for me. Oh, spelt Volvo wrong there. Really. Oh. Right, okay. So once I've added all the vehicles, I'm going to check obviously that they're all correct on here. So you can see all of the new ones that you've added there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And there's 11 vehicles on here. So the order is actually for 13, but the customer, excuse me, the customer doesn't know 2 of his new registrations. He knows that they're going to be Volvo FEs, and we know that they're FLs, and we know that they're compatible because they're going to be 2023 vehicles. So we've agreed to process them for him as a TBC. So I would put TBC. For this instance, we've added 11 vehicles, so I'll put TBC 12.
Would that be quite common, Lucy?
Yes, we get it. Sometimes we only get the chassis numbers as well. And that can be quite common, especially if the customer's got vehicles on order and they haven't been PDI'd yet, they wouldn't have a registration.
Okay.
And then what I would do usually is when I do get the registration, I would go on the app in the back end and I would actually just amend the TBC to the registration. Oh.
It could possibly be just one that exists before. I think sometimes if it's just a unique prefix is put in, maybe TBC.
Yeah, let me just put 013 then. Now, Dan, are you aware if we can actually edit any of these? Let's have a look. If I click on one.
I don't think there is the option maybe when you're doing it at this point in time, Lucy, but after it's been submitted and approved, it can be done from either your side or operations side of things.
Right, okay, perfect. So all of the new ones that I've added there, I basically check all of them through. I can see where I've added, where was the mistake that I'd made? It was the Volvo here, where I've spelt Volvo wrong. So I'll get support to amend that, or I could just delete that now. What would you do, Dan?
I would probably just shoot a note and amend it thereafter. It'll save you the time and hassle, you know.
Okay, so usually I would actually just delete that if I'd made a mistake, but if you're happy for us to continue, I will go ahead and select all of the registrations that we are processing the order for.
I think it was something more around, you know, the registration, or was a completely different vehicle, you know, you would delete and recreate, but for a spell mistake, it wouldn't be worth it, you know.
Right, okay, so there is, when I've selected here, there is coming up as 14 vehicles, but this registration, YUO, is one that's been added a while back, so I'm not too sure why they've put that on the app as row 1, because that isn't a vehicle that I've just added. However, so just be diligent and double check that you've obviously selected all the correct vehicles that we need the products for. Okay. Now I would then go to next. I can see that I've selected all of my vehicles that we need to process the order for. Okay, so when you click on next, it will ask you to select products. For this order, we are selecting Track Smart and Fuel Smart. So I'm going to go to Track Smart here, simply select it under the Track Smart field. And then if I go to Fuel Smart Pro, you've got some different options here. So depending on what you've sold them, you would select the type of Fuel Smart. So I've sold this particular customer Fuel Smart Pro Standard, because it doesn't have any extra bits like the DAPs or any add-ons there. So I'd select that so I can see I've got my Track Smart and I've got my Fuel Smart both selected there. I would simply go to next on my right hand side, and then you'll have all your vehicles listed here. Now you've got some little tick boxes here. If all of the vehicles are having the same products, you should be able to select them all. Allow me for some reason. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all of the vehicles that are having Track Smart and all of the vehicles. Oh, there we go.
Just took a while to come up.
It did. It wasn't there at first. I'm sure it wasn't me going mad. So there we go. You can see you've got an option to select them all, and you've got an option to select them all for your Fuel Smart. What I would do is if some of the vehicles weren't compatible, so i.e. say this TBC12 wasn't compatible for fuel, you just wouldn't select the fuel for that. product. You just select the products that you need the actual units processing for. Okay. So then I would then go to next. So I can see that I've got my Track Smart. I've got all the boxes ticked there. And I can see I've got my Fuel Smart. Everything's ticked there for all of the vehicles. But then go to next. And this is where I'd add in the finance information. So I'm just going to pull up the agreement, the order form for this particular customer.
And is each order form, let's see, they would be saved per customer. I take it in that customer folder then?
Yes, so we save them under the customer, in the customers folder. That's where you will find the GP sheets, fleet requirement list, and your order forms as well. So got a signed order form here. So we can see he's got 13 Track Smart, 13 Fuel Smart Pro, and then he's on a 60-month contract and he's opted for a lease option. £14.50 for his Track Smart, £12 there for his Fuel Smart. So total of £26.50 per month per vehicle. He's got 60 months full warranty. We've got his monthlies here. You can see who signed it, name of the customer who signed it, and then you've got here exactly when the envelope was generated and exactly when it was opened and signed.
And can I just check, we see the account details they were blank, would they be taken maybe thereafter or after install?
So the account details for the lease agreement. So for the lease, so as soon as the order is signed, I would go to the lease company and get an approval before I submit anything on the app, because you don't want to lease the lease company to come back and say that they can't get finance, and then you've gone processed an order that you can't fulfill, because then you have to go back to the customer to discuss other options. So there's your order form, but I would always get any lease approved before submitted any orders on the app.
And is that different? I take it for upfront and rental and the likes then? You would get details beforehand as well?
Yes, well, we would already have the order form signed, so we would already know what we've agreed to charge them up front and for installation and rental. So under your finance options here, you've got your upfront installation, you've got your rental and your lease. So this particular customer, if we look on his order form here, he has got an upfront cost for his installation, and then he's got a monthly lease for both products. So I would then go to lease and upfront installation. However, if it was an upfront payment, so it's upfront amount for the equipment, and then you've got an installation cost and a rental cost, you would just select whatever ones are applicable to your order. And then you would then complete all your information down here. So you've got your contract term. This is a 60-month agreement. Your lease per unit is £14.50 for Track Smart. Your lease frequency, I would add in monthly, unless the customer stipulates that they want a quarterly lease. For your warranty, it's a 60-month full warranty. So I don't want to give them 60 days. I actually do want to select 60 months. Your warranty type will always show on your order form. So he's got 60 months warranty, full warranty. That means labour and parts. So we would then tick full. If it was just labour or just parts, then you would just select whichever option is applicable. And then down to your Fuel Smart, you've got your payment method. So again, this is a lease and an upfront installation. Going to be a 60-month agreement. Your installation per unit, that's 75. Okay, so it will ask you the lesser, which is going to be lease telecom. And then your price per month is going to be, just double check that, £12 for the fuel solution. Again,
can I just add there to say the lease telecom, the few options, what are those options and how do we know it's lease telecom?
Oh, because I submitted the lease through Lease Telecom, so the BDM will know what lease company that they've already obtained the approval from. So whether that's Grenke, Lease, or LDF White Oak, they are the only three options in there, and you can't add any other options in manually. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be lease group, which is on here as lease telecom.
Okay.
Warranty type, again, full warranty. And at that point, you would just check all of your information there. What I would probably do is on my order form, I've put the installation cost against the Track Smart. So I am just going to correct that there.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Have you got any more questions on this particular section?
All good.
No, oh, just that at the bottom, we don't go near the attached documents, these fields here at the bottom there.
Yes.
Oh, is that what you're going to next, maybe?
Yes, so
Sorry. Yep.
you can attach the documents right at the beginning. So you know when you've added the customer, you can actually attach them documents at the beginning. The reason I personally don't is because if you have to go back a step, it will remove the GP sheet, it will remove the attachments. So you would then have to add them in again. I don't know if that's something that's been resolved, but I just add that information in at the end. So I just pull all my attachments up when we get to the next stage. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. So we'll go to the very last stage, which is stage 6. You've got your contacts there. So your contact should be already be in there when you're adding your customer. You would add your contact via contacts there. And then at that point, I would then attach the documents. So there's 2 documents that are required. It's going to be your GP sheet and your signed order form. Simply find them by looking into the customer folder. What I would also do just before I do upload that information is I would just check my GP sheet is correct. 13 units, £75. It's my lease cost. Perfect. Okay, so I've already uploaded my signed sales order form. I'm just going to upload the GP sheet now. Okay, and both of them been uploaded. You've got your QNQ number here, which is QNQ 101041. Oh, sorry, it's 102. I'm blind.
And then your customer. Sorry, was that just pulled off the GP sheet itself then, Lucy? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see here, you would always have a QNQ code against your GP sheet or your order form.
Mm-hmm.
And you would also have that on your SharePoint as well. There is an option here for a customer PO number. This is a new field that's just been added in there. So we haven't got a PO number at this stage because it's a lease agreement. So I'm just going to add the QNQ number in there twice until I get clarification on that. Unless you know, Dan, are you aware?
Yeah, I believe the reason there for the PO is in the instance that maybe they want to buy something outside the deal, so maybe additional kit that needs a purchase order to build towards separate from the original deal then.
Or if it's a purchase rental.
Yeah.
Possibly. Right, so let me leave that out and see whether it lets me go to the next stage without adding that in.
Should do.
Okay, it actually does. So that's it. So you've added your customer in. You've selected all your vehicles, you've selected the products against each vehicles, then you've assigned the products, you've added in the finance details, so whether it's lease, purchase, rental, and all your warranties in there. Then you select your contact, upload your documents, so your order form and your GP sheet. Select it, add in your QNQ number or PO number if applicable. And then the last part is you simply just submit it. Now, when we're submitting an order, this is a note that support are going to see.
Okay.
So I would pop in order for 13 Okay. And then at this point, you've already discussed you already know if you use your own engineers, what engineer you're going to be using for this particular project, and whether the equipment is going to be sent to the engineer direct or to the customer. So for this order, I'll put in order for 13 Track Smart and Fuel Smart, equipment to be posted direct to the customer, and booking request to NWFI, which is Northwest Fleet Installations. That's the engineering company we're going to use for this particular installs. And then you would simply just submit the order there. Have you got any more questions before I submit this?
Oh, perfect. My only question, Lucy, was when you submit it, if there is an issue or maybe support find an issue with the submission, would it just be deleted and resent to you to do again, or can you amend it from your side?
So what usually if there is an error made on it, depending on what that error is, if support or one of the guys can't amend what they need to amend from their side, we would always ask them to reject the order and then we would resubmit it.
Happy days.
Just a real simple question for me. The order, you put a star sign before the order. Was that automatically done, or did you just?
I've just added that, and I think that's just the way that some of the guys have added them in before.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. These are just the notes that you can see, that support can see by yourself, to be fair. But a lot of them do put the stars in, so I'll just remove them anyway.
That's fine. No, just wondering, just maybe there's some tribal knowledge there that I'm not aware of.
Like it's an urgent order, get this one out first.
Yeah, that's one out first. Understood.
No particular reason. That's pretty much it. It is quite simple. This is one of the simple parts of just getting your order on the app and getting it submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that now. So we can see the connection sheet has now been submitted for approval by support. So it'll go through to support, and then if there's any issues with the order, they will come back and let you know. And then again, you've got an option here, approve orders. I can see that order's gone through there, and it's pending approval from support.
Happy days. And let's see if there's nothing else to add or no further questions. I'll stop the recording there if it's all good.
Yeah, no, I'm all good with that, if you're happy.